for the Q1 of this year, the growth rate will contract by 2.4%. So I think that has a lot to do with the various policies, and also not only misleading policies, but also very high level of uncertainty due to these policy announcements. And I agree with the previous speakers. First of all, tariff is paid by the American consumers. It hurts the businesses. Immigration policies, the PIIE has crunched the number. If President Trump really deport 8.3 million undocumented immigrants by the end of his term, he is going to reduce the GDP by 7% compared to the baseline scenario. So a lot of these policies, not to mention his tax cuts, right? That is basically 1% of the population gets 20% of the benefit. The bottom 60 gets 13% back in 2018. And by 2028, if that policy gets extended, the rich 1% is going to get the great majority, 80% of the benefits. And so, and that's going to add, $8.3 trillion debt to the U.S. Economy by 2028. So I think a lot of these policies are not conducive to the U.S. economy. And when you specifically talked about manufacturing, so what these tariff does is, again, disrupt the supply chain without a holistic policies to build infrastructure, to train the workforce, to make the energy more affordable and accessible. It is impossible to just use a tariff to be able to revitalize the manufacturing sector, not to mention to curtail some of these overwhelming financial interests that encourage outsourcing, offshoring, job cuts, and so on and so forth. So I think this is really just wishful thinking. It's also a lie, I think, to the electoral voters that somehow this tariff is going to bring back jobs. Not to mention, I think we also need to keep in mind that this country right now employs about 8% of the workforce in the manufacturing sector. Most of the people work in the service sector. So there's also the question, who are going to pick up some of these manufacturing jobs and who has a skill to do that? So I think, at the surface, yes, these policies seem to be able to convince some of the investors to come to the U.S. to invest. But again, when you really look down at the economic reality, these policies are not going to work for the U.S. economy, not for the working people.